Hello everyone, welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wishing you an enjoyable audiobook experience. Today, I'll be interpreting the book Man's Search for Himself. In times of turmoil, how to confront countless inner perplexities and seek one's true self is the theme of this book. The author of this book, Rollo May, is an immensely pioneering master of psychology. Modern psychology has three major schools of thought. The first is psychoanalysis, represented by figures like Freud, Jung, and Adler. This school advocates studying the hidden psychological secrets of the preconscious mind. The second school is cognitive behavioral psychology. This school believes that psychological issues arise from faulty cognition influencing behavior. Its representative figure is Albert Ellis, the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy. The third school is existential psychology, founded by Rollo and others. In the early stages of his career, Rollo departed from the teachings of famous psychoanalytic mentors like Freud and Adler. During the mid-20th century, he infused philosophical concepts of human existence and value into the theoretical framework of modern psychology. Thus, he is known as the father of American existential psychology. Man's Search for Himself is one of Rollo's early classic works. He wrote it in the post-World War II United States, a period of rapid change and development. The swift transformations brought about uncertainty, which in turn easily triggered feelings of unease and suffering. Who am I? What am I doing? What do I want? These seemingly simple questions no longer had clear answers. How can individuals achieve continuous self-development and eventual self-fulfillment? In this book, Rollo provides the answers. For the bewildered masses of that time, this book acted as a soothing balm for their spirits. Looking back at this book over half a century later, we find that Rollo's insights into the search for self remain timeless. Today, I will dissect this book for you through three sections. 1. The common psychological predicaments of contemporary individuals. 2. How to rebuild one's own strength. 3. How individuals seek themselves in society. Alright, let's begin with the first section. What are the common psychological predicaments of contemporary individuals, and how do they come about? According to Rollo's view, the most prevalent psychological issue among modern individuals is emptiness. Emptiness refers to the state where many people not only do not know what they want but also often lack a clear understanding of their own feelings. This experience of emptiness initially spread among the middle class in the United States during the 1950s. Every workday morning, they wake up at the same time, take the same train to work, repeat the same tasks in the office, eat lunch at the same place, give the same tip to the restaurant server every day, and return home on the same train at night. They typically raise 2 or 3 children, have a small garden at home, take 2 vacations a year, and retire from work at the designated retirement age. It is this mechanized life, with the same routine year after year, that leaves their minds hollow. Regardless of what they do, it seems like they are simply completing tasks, never really missing a beat when it comes to what needs to be done. Their actions are focused solely on the form, devoid of substance, let alone any attention to their own or others' spiritual worlds. As a result, people often use material possessions to address this psychological deficiency, insisting on buying the most expensive, striving for the best, aiming to be at the top. However, it has been proven that the satisfaction brought by these external things is only fleeting. In this state, people no longer believe they can make a difference, shape themselves, influence others, or their environment. This fosters a sense of despair. So, what's the solution? People gradually begin to rely on some form of external authority to tell them what to do, rather than deciding based on their own inner desires. But due to a long-standing lack of a stable core self, people don't know who they are or what they're seeking. This is likely the aftermath of emptiness. In Rollo's view, another prominent psychological issue of modern people is loneliness. If there's one word to describe loneliness, it's being constantly isolated, anytime and anywhere. I'm sure you're familiar with such scenes, grand parties where people raise their glasses in glittering cheers, yet never truly see each other's faces and expressions. People engage in endless conversations, but these discussions lack depth and only involve gossip or exchanging interests. One of my visitors once told me that he enjoys being invited to such gatherings. However, the gatherings themselves don't make him happy, and he finds it hard to make friends at these events. But he said, "This matters to me because it proves that I'm not so lonely." Yet in these gatherings, he rarely manages to truly engage and enjoy the pleasures of social interactions. Renowned existential philosopher Kierkegaard described such scenes many years ago. He stated that people do everything possible to distract themselves from thoughts of loneliness by shifting their attention and engaging in noisy music. It's like how people used to drive away wild beasts in the American forests with torches, shouts, and the sound of tools. However, the beasts modern people are trying to drive away are not related to life and death but are the constant feeling of loneliness. It's a fear of not fitting in with the crowd. To alleviate this loneliness, people try their best to be accepted by society and others. This means doing everything to please others, because only when recognized and praised will they not feel lonely. And this might be one of the primary indications of success in modern society. If someone is not liked by others, they are considered a complete failure in social competition. Therefore, people continuously strive to avoid being lonely. However, it's precisely this effort that leads us further away from our true selves. Because the efforts we make to escape interpersonal failures often become very utilitarian, aimed solely at avoiding being alone or seeking adoration from others. Such relationships lack deep connections and provide no nourishment to our inner souls. In essence, our pursuit of escaping loneliness often leaves us more isolated. Moving on to the third prevalent psychological issue among contemporary individuals, the lingering anxiety. So, what is anxiety? Rollo explains it using a scene from everyday life. When we cross a busy street packed with traffic and find ourselves stuck in the middle with no clear direction, our heart rate quickens, our vision blurs, and our actions become sluggish. We're unsure of where to go, unable to reach the safety of the other side. This feeling is anxiety. In general, anxiety is a feeling of being trapped and overwhelmed. Sometimes it stems from real fears, a threat of death or a health issue. Many times, however, people experience anxiety without any objective reason. It's like an invisible, intangible force compelling them to be tense. This kind of anxiety, often encountered in psychological therapy, is known as neurotic anxiety. Regardless of the cause, anxiety can erode a person's sense of self and understanding, making clear thinking and decisive action difficult. So, what leads to feelings of emptiness, loneliness, and anxiety? Rollo believes that individual psychological issues are closely intertwined with societal processes. The rapid changes in modern society, along with shifting values and ideals, have left people struggling to find a sense of security. This depletion of inner strength significantly weakens them, forcing them to let external factors determine who they are, how they feel, what they want, and what they should do. This adaptation and conformity to the public and others have constituted the moral order of our society. As a result, abandoning the pursuit of inner thoughts and submitting to external forces is often seen as virtuous and right. We can observe that people must live under the authority of anonymous opinions, media reports, government decisions, and the like. Consequently, they experience emptiness, loneliness, and anxiety. Thus, we continue to seek the ultimate solution from the external environment, hoping to compensate for our psychological frailty with some mysterious power, wishing all our problems would vanish. The more we long for this, the more we suffer. What Rollo discovered in Americans of the 1950s, the psychological dilemmas, remains relevant today. After all, our era is characterized by information overload, difficulty discerning truth from falsehood, ongoing global conflicts, and economic turbulence. We live in a time where the certainties in life are dwindling. As a result, we stretch our feelers outward, attempting to find dependencies in the external environment. However, this often leads to an even greater loss of self. So, how can we rebuild our inner strength and seek our true selves? In the next section, we'll discuss this question. According to Rollo, the key lies in becoming genuinely self-aware. Self-awareness, simply put, involves having a basic understanding of who you are, what you're doing, and what you want. Psychologists believe that self-awareness is a significant marker that sets humans apart from other beings. A dog might enjoy playing with a ball and eagerly await its owner to join, but it probably isn't aware that it's a dog or capable of contemplating why it enjoys playing with a ball. However, humans know who they are, why they're playing with a ball, and the purpose behind their actions. If someone possesses a stable sense of self-awareness, they should be independent in their personality, mature in their psychology, have a clear understanding of how to think and act, and take responsibility for themselves. Take work, for instance. A person with solid self-awareness doesn't view it as assigned tasks or oppressive proof of their worthlessness. Instead, work becomes an active choice, a way to prove their value and engage in conscious creative activity. However, without clear self-awareness, people face dilemmas. For instance, a young man sought psychological therapy because he couldn't write his thesis and had been delayed in graduating for over a year. As therapy progressed, the therapist discovered that the root issue lay in his weak self-awareness. This young man often felt like he had no self. Even as he approached middle school, his mother would still dress him, zip his zipper, and, when necessary, confront teachers to prevent him from being bullied. His mother frequently lamented about the hardships she endured to her son. Even during adolescence, his mother would discourage him from interacting with girls. As he got older, his parents would try to set him up with suitable girls for arranged dates. Before seeking therapy, he had already moved back home to live with his parents, ostensibly because the dormitory environment was hindering his thesis work. But his real problem was that he couldn't separate himself psychologically from his parents, especially his mother. He never truly understood who he was or what he wanted. He lacked the inner strength to stand on his own. So, whenever he faced a problem, he would revert to his parents, relying on them and regressing psychologically. As a result, he remained entangled with his family of origin. Now, how do people develop self-awareness during their growth process? Here, Rollo conducts an analysis from a psychoanalytic perspective. He believes that solid self-awareness stems from understanding who you are, what you want, and how to act. Achieving this requires an ongoing struggle with dependency. When a baby is born, they are initially part of a collective with their mother. The journey towards selfhood begins by distinguishing between what the mother wants and what the self desires. Becoming an independent individual involves playing alone, spending more time away from parental protection, and relying on one's own strength to explore and learn. For instance, consider a toddler learning to climb stairs. Initially, they may stumble and fall, but with time, they no longer need their parents' assistance and can climb independently. This example reflects the process of self-development. Through such experiences, children differentiate between themselves and their parents, face setbacks, and experience the joy of learning, leading to the development of personal strength. During their growth, children experience several critical periods of burgeoning self-awareness, which often coincide with challenges in parenting. For example, around the ages of 2 or 3, children may become difficult to manage, and preteens around 7 or 8 might exhibit disagreeable behavior. Subsequently, the rebellious phase of adolescence follows. During these phases of self-development, children often oppose external authorities, represented by parents, as a way to establish clear interpersonal boundaries, understand who they are, and determine what kind of person they want to become. This process enables them to acquire stable self-awareness. Rollo firmly believes that whether self-awareness can be established healthily depends, in part, on external authority providing a meaningful growth environment for children. However, more often than not, the desire for selfhood comes from an innate instinct to break through authority, seek freedom, and realize the self. Establishing a sense of self and confidence allows individuals to perceive themselves and the world more comprehensively and objectively. This enables them to recognize their strengths, acknowledge their mistakes, consider their biases, and view negative emotions as essential experiences for growth. They can then responsibly decide their next steps, thus achieving a basic state of psychological health. In summary, Rollo asserts that self-awareness is inherent to human beings, distinguishing them from other creatures. However, whether self-awareness develops and solidifies depends on an individual's personal effort. Becoming an independent and unique person with strong self-awareness is a journey of self-discovery. However, Rollo doesn't limit this journey to the individual level but elevates it to broader social contexts, discussing the path of self-development within groups. In this regard, Rollo's focus expands beyond individual development to encompass humanity's overall developmental goal. She believes that one of the most significant sources of inner strength is responsible freedom. Feeling free isn't just about doing what one desires but involves asserting oneself in a crowd without influencing others negatively. Only by achieving both can we possess inner strength. In essence, the concept of freedom in the modern age is often misunderstood. Rollo criticizes the popular notion that freedom is merely the right to say no. She argues that freedom isn't about mindless rebellion or unbridled actions. True freedom is born from something much more powerful. Consider a child growing up in an environment where they are constantly told what not to do. Such an environment breeds defiance in the child, leading them to say no as a way to protect their space for personal development. However, does this make the child truly free? The child may think so initially, equating rebellion with freedom. But over time, they realize they are stuck in a cycle of opposition. Identifying oneself through rebellion hampers real growth. Merely adopting an opposing stance doesn't make one responsible for their choices, nor does it signify self-awareness. Such an individual remains caught in a cycle of opposition, unsure of their true direction. Conversely, some parents, influenced by individualism, emphasize their child's so-called freedom of development. They might say, "Child, figure it out on your own." However, this approach can leave children feeling lost, with neither parental expectations nor a clear sense of self-direction. Ultimately, defining freedom without boundaries or rules can cause anxiety in growing children. They lack guidance on how to take responsibility for their lives, as parents fail to provide a clear example. So, how should freedom be defined? We know life is subject to the natural laws of birth, aging, illness, and death. This process is inevitable. Thus, absolute freedom is a fallacy. What we can strive for is relative freedom, meaning that while we can't choose birth and death or avoid illness and aging, we do have the power, when faced with destiny, to respond in as many ways as possible, to choose how we respond. For instance, about 60 years ago, contracting tuberculosis could be fatal. Due to its contagious nature, those afflicted were strictly controlled. Despite facing the same disease, people responded differently. Some surrendered and gave up on life, while others resented their fate. Some resisted control measures, while others accepted their condition and embarked on a journey of self-exploration, reflecting on why they fell ill, how the disease affected them, and what lessons it brought. Such individuals gained a renewed sense of self, taking a proactive approach to treatment and regaining their health. Therefore, according to Rollo's perspective, true freedom arises from having self-awareness, enabling the ability to choose and be accountable for those choices. His emphasis lies in the fact that freedom doesn't manifest out of thin air or result from external circumstances, it's an inner strength acquired through effort. To attain freedom, one must actively select their own self. In simpler terms, it means taking responsibility for the choices one can make. This might sound prideful, but put more plainly, it involves being responsible for the parts of oneself that are within one's control. Only through this approach can individuals live with vitality and decisiveness, ultimately achieving self-shaping and determining their own destiny. This is where the essence of life's freedom resides. Now that we've covered Rollo's viewpoint on freedom, he also addresses how traditional values like morality should be reimagined. Philosophers often say that humans are moral beings due to their self-awareness, which allows them to transcend immediate interests and limitations, remembering the past while planning for the future. As a result, they aren't satisfied with merely immediate benefits, instead, they prioritize larger gains that may occur in the future. For the same reason, they can empathize with others and consciously acknowledge their needs and desires. Their choices can balance self-interest with the interests of others, showcasing an essential aspect of morality. In an ideal scenario, morality is constructed by countless individuals with stable self-awareness, building a stable social order. This embodies the collective inner strength within all of us. So, what kind of morality is better suited for a rapidly changing modern era? Rollo's answer is to encourage a pioneering morality. This refers to going beyond compliance with authority and the environment, possessing autonomous creativity. This means breaking norms and independently deciding the kind of person one aims to be. Here, Rollo uses the example of Prometheus, a hero in Greek mythology who stole fire from the gods, gifting humanity with a new way of life. While defying the gods made him a criminal in the eyes of authority, Rollo sees Prometheus's act of stealing fire as a moral action. This is because he didn't merely comply with authority or conform to the wishes of others, instead, he made a choice based on independent thought and took responsibility for it. In this way, individuals can craft a morality that aligns with the rapidly changing modern era. Rollo concludes this section by stressing the importance of constant self-seeking, which isn't just a personal endeavor but also a return to the essence of human nature. If people recognize that relying solely on external factors will lead to difficulties, they have the chance to transcend the limitations imposed by the times and find an eternal abode for their souls. This eternity isn't about stagnation but refers to the shared spiritual pursuit among individuals. Socrates once described his ideal city-state as a place where people lived happily by seeking truth. This truth was knowing oneself and becoming oneself. While some doubt the existence of such a city on earth, Socrates was confident that even if it didn't exist physically, wise individuals would adopt the city's way of life, irrespective of external factors. They would establish order in their spiritual homes, constantly striving to realize themselves. Therefore, the pursuit of the self will be our eternal psychological goal. Rollo uses Socrates' prophecy to conclude the book, as it encapsulates the essence of the book. The external environment can never offer perfect and unblemished conditions. Ultimately, society's development relies on individuals who have built a stable self-awareness, enabling them to make responsible choices for themselves. This is akin to arranging one's spiritual home in a proper manner. To stand firm in the changing tides of modern society, individuals need to transcend the constraints of time and return to humanity's developmental history. They need to recapture some old yet timeless values and achieve spiritual consensus. Freedom, responsibility, and creativity. By reimagining and learning these attributes, we can make them our stable psychological goals. We can construct a timeless spiritual home that transcends time. And thus, the pursuit of the self has been decoded for you. Congratulations, you've completed another book. Thank you all for listening to Tim Booker Channel. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker Channel, like, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice, achieve our financial goals, and create a better future together. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.